I thought it would be interesting to share my motivations for exploring the depths and intricacies of the conscious experience. I'm also going to spend some time sharing some information I discovered while researching a variety of articles written on the topic of mindfulness. Afterwards, I will share my personal experience with mindfulness practices and both the large and subtle effects I have experienced from cultivating a new state of awareness. My exploration of my own conscious experience started when I was a young boy, probably when I was about 10 years old. I was always curious about the inner workings of the universe, so in my spare time I read Stephen Hawking's books and enjoyed learning about quantum physics. Learning about these deep topics led me to question my understanding of reality and had me wondering if I would ever find the answers I was searching for. It frustrated me for years that I may never find an answer or an accurate model of the universe. I now realize I was truly searching for an explanation for who I am, what my relation was to the rest of the universe, and what my purpose will be as I continue to live out the rest of my life. A fear of the unknown hovered in my awareness for years. Contemplating the implications of my birth, inevitable death, and the strange realm in between the two events where all of these life experiences occur left me anxious and depressed because I had no idea how to reconcile the limited knowledge I had of the universe and the limited knowledge I had of myself. I was lost in a narrow perspective which had been shaped by my scientific studies and their methods of analyzation. I made a realization that with the current perspective I was maintaining, that there would be no amount of scientific information that would be able to satisfy my deepest inquiries. I came to a tipping point in my journey. I either was going to remain dependent on the external world and other people's descriptions of the universe, or I was going to validate my own experiences and the knowledge I gained from them. I chose a new path that allowed my perspective to be continually revised by a wider spectrum of experiences than what I had previously allowed. I did not explore meditation until my first stressful semester of college. I was studying biology at the University of Vermont and found myself struggling to maintain motivation for my chosen major. By starting a practice of sitting down and taking an inventory of my inner dialogue, I realized that I had deeper artistic passions that would have never been able to be expressed through my particular focus of study at the time. This allowed me to make a decision to make a big shift from Vermont to Rhode Island in order to pursue film media instead of biology. This specific shift had a large impact because it allowed me to realize the true power that stems from taking full responsibility for my perspective, and how it influences my daily actions and experiences. As I continued my practice, I experienced numerous subtle effects that pertain to my personal interactions on a daily basis. I became motivated by my compassion for others and allowed that feeling to direct my actions toward their highest potential. I found the article, Learn to Quiet the Inner Critic and Its Impossible Demands, interesting because it is written by Gina Cho, a lawyer who has the intention of helping other lawyers in cultivating a mindfulness practice. The article lays out a variety of common thinking errors that can result from the anxiety that is created by our own inner voice. Catastrophizing, for example, is imagining the worst-case scenario and involves blowing things out of proportion. Other thinking errors included jumping to conclusions, overgeneralization, black and white thinking, labeling, emotional reasoning, and personalization, which involves attributing external events to yourself without a causal relationship. The article concludes with a description of how to begin to handle the inner critic, and then provides a simple mindfulness practice to try out. The first step of the mindfulness practice is to find a comfortable seated position. Close your eyes, take some deep breaths, breathing in and out through the nose. Bring to mind someone you care about. Notice how it feels to think of this person. Repeat the following phrases quietly in your mind. May I be happy? May I be healthy? May I know ease and joy? May I be free from suffering. The article, 4 Strategies for Effectively Implementing a Mindfulness Program, is also written by Gina Cho, and it discusses how mindfulness can be used to improve communication, problem solving, and interpersonal skills. This article not only holds the intention of helping to improve the states of mind of those that work at a law firm, but also to help provide better representation to the firm's clients. I particularly like this article because it explains the benefits that mindfulness may have on productivity and skill development while presenting the suggested mindfulness practice in a way that lawyers don't find immediately off-putting. My passion is directed towards learning about the ways that mindfulness can be adapted and implemented in various situations. I read a report of a study that focused on the effects of mindfulness. It was called Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction in Adolescents with Mental Disorders. In this study, 101 adolescents that had mental disorders were separated into 2 treatment groups. The control group was provided treatment as usual in reference to their sessions with their psychologist. The other group received the mindfulness-based stress reduction treatment as well as treatment as usual with their psychologist. After testing the participants and analyzing their scores on mindfulness, self-esteem, perceived stress, and other psychological symptoms, the results showed that changes in mindfulness were not drastically different between the 2 groups. A proposed explanation for this observation is that the mindfulness index of those who practice mindfulness-based stress reduction activities initially will decrease until the practice is maintained long enough that the effects are generalized to everyday life. This initially seemed peculiar to me, but after contemplation I realized that I myself also experienced such an effect. When I first began my practice of meditation and mindfulness, it almost felt like I had taken the step in the wrong direction because everything wrong with my perspective flooded my awareness in those quiet moments of meditation. However, after continual practice, I was able to clear out and remap unnecessary thinking patterns which had a profound effect on my everyday life and activities. Practicing mindfulness has provided me with an immense amount of insight into the nature of my own mind and ways. When I first began this journey to reinvent my perspective, it was hard, difficult, and frustrating because I didn't believe in my own power to change my life. I believe that it is so incredibly important to learn about the power that is held within the ability to shift and make changes to our own perception of reality. My motivation to learn and spread this knowledge stems from my youth and my experiences of feeling trapped and doomed by my own limited perspective. By using my ability to cultivate a freer mindset, I was able to disentangle myself from the negative thinking patterns that sought to wreak havoc in my life experiences. My hope is to continue to gather information about mindfulness in hopes to share my experiences with those who can relate and make use of this knowledge.